I just love that song. Da 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 na 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 na. Sing a song, sing out loud, sing out strong, sing of good times, not bad. Make it simple to love. Oh, okay. So I started listening to the Carpenters. All right. And I was listening to sing a song, like completely inoffensive song, like how could anyone have an objection to sing a song? But it led me on a trajectory. So after listening to the Carpenters, I started listening to Kenny Rogers. And then after listening to Kenny Rogers, I started listening to ABBA and Air Supply. Then I started listening to ABBA and Air Supply, and it led me to listening to Journey. And then I really got into melodic rock. I started listening to REO Speedwagon. Then I started listening to Night Ranger. And then I developed a taste for the Scorpions, just the ballads. But then I started liking the harder stuff. I mean, I started really going for really hard, Scorpions, hard rock music, just like my parents had warned me about. It's like, it's early morning, the sun comes out. Last night was shaking and pretty loud. My cat is purring, it scratches my skin. So what is wrong with a night of sin? The bitch is hungry, she needs to tell. So give her inches and feed her well. More days to come, new places to go. I've got to leave, it's time for a show. Here I am, rocky like a hurricane. Here I am, rocky like a hurricane. So I started off listening to the Carpenters, and then it led to Kenny Rogers and ABBA and Air Supply, and then Journey, and then REO Speedwagon. And soon I was ending up listening to not just listening to the Scorpions, not just the ballads, but like the hard stuff. My body is burning, it starts to shout. Desire is coming, it breaks out loud. Lust is in cages till storm breaks loose. Just have to make it with someone I choose. I mean, this is not godly material, but I got led down the garden path, and it just all started with the Carpenters. Sing, the night is calling, I have to go. The wolf is hungry, he runs the show. He's licking his lips, he's ready to win. On the hunt tonight for love at first sting. Here I am, rocky like a hurricane. Are you ready, baby? See, this is not godly stuff, but I got led down the garden path. Okay, opinion on Apolloism. It just seems like National Socialism, but with a nicer rapper. Yeah, it strikes me National Socialism. Yeah, like before I knew it, I'd moved from the Carpenters to Kenny Rogers to Anne Murray to ABBA to Air Supply to Journey, and before long I was like, staying alive. Like I was in the grip of the Bee Gees and disco. It just like and this music, it just had the beat of sexual intercourse, and like then I was like looking at pornography. So it all started with the Carpenters, then Kenny Rogers, Anne Murray, ABBA, Air Supply, Journey, REO Speedwagon, the Scorpions, hardcore pornography. I just went on that trajectory. It all begins with a song by the Carpenters. Okay. So when does China attack? Not when it feels confident about the future, but when it worries its enemies are closing in. So the Chinese Communist Party wages war when it perceives an opening window of vulnerability or a closing window of opportunity to consolidate control over disputed areas. And this pattern holds regardless of the strength of China's opponent. So Beijing has often attacked far superior foes, including the US, to cut them down to size and beat them back from Chinese claimed territory. So some people you don't mess with because you never know when they're just going to go to war. Like some people are so unpredictably aggressive and assertive that you just leave them alone. So in 1950, right, the fledgling People's Republic of China was less than a year old. It was destitute. It had been fighting for decades of civil war. It had been fighting with Japanese brutality. Nonetheless, it mauled advancing US troops in Korea out of concern that the Americans would conquer North Korea and then use North Korea as a base to attack China. So in the expanded Korean War that resulted, China suffered 1 million casualties. It risked nuclear retaliation. It was slammed with punishing economic sanctions that stayed in place for a generation. But to this day, Beijing still celebrates its interventions as a glorious victory that warded off an existential threat to its homeland. 1962, the Chinese People's Liberation Army attacked Indian forces, ostensibly because they'd built outposts in Chinese claimed territory in the Himalayas, but the real cause, the Chinese Communist Party feared that it was being surrounded by Indians, Americans, Soviets, and Chinese nationalists. All had been increasing their military presence near China. And later that decade, fearing that China was next on Moscow's hit list, the Chinese military ambushed Soviet forces and set off a 7-month undeclared conflict that risked nuclear war. Late 1970s, Beijing picked a fight with Vietnam. So Deng Xiaoping chose to do it to teach Vietnam a lesson, because Vietnam had started hosting Soviet forces on its territory and invaded Cambodia, which is one of China's few allies. China does not and has never had many allies. So from the 1950s to the 1990s, China nearly started wars on 3 separate occasions by firing artillery or missiles at Taiwan or near Taiwan. So this is 1954 to 55, 1958, 1995 to 1966. So the main goal was to deter Taiwan from forging a closer relationship with the United States or declaring its independence from China. So we have this overarching pattern of behavior that's consistent. Beijing turns violent when confronted with the prospect of permanently losing control of its territory, tends to attack one enemy to scare off others, rarely gives advance warning, and it rarely waits to absorb the initial blow.